The following is an Operation Podcast production.
Hi guys, I'm functional health coach Vince Pitstick, and we're here on Ever Forward Radio talking all about the psychology and the physiology of success and vitality. I've been watching a lot of your content lately to speak to the business people, to speak to the high performer, to speak to the dreamer on top of the health. The number one sensitive, all hormones we should care about is dopamine and serotonin. Because high performers suffer from a condition called anhedonia. Have you heard of this word? This is where we can drop some shit. My field, so the stuff that you don't see me always, the stuff I do on stage is not always the stuff that's online. And
you got to leave us one more for sure.
So anhedonia is pleasure deafness, where I can't feel. I get in a place of indecision. I get in these patterns and these loops that I can't seem to break. I get everything I ever wanted and I feel miserable. I do the biggest event and now I don't know what to do with my life. Like, why does that behavior happen? Hormones, which we'll get to, I think this makes sense. Hormone sensitivity is different than hormone level.
Right.
And the reason that you can understand the difference is what you're drinking right there. So caffeine, we'll talk about it on the pod, make it easy, where it's like 1 cup of coffee, I feel great. 2, maybe even better. 3, I might go to sleep. But what happens is the more dysregulated we get, the more inflamed that we get. The more in our alert, hyper-focused for problem state. What burnout actually is, because they can't find it in the data, they look at cortisol and they can't find it.
It's not a real diagnosis.
Right.
It's not. It's
adrenal fatigue, but it's very real. Yeah. We can all agree. It is a real place. There's no fucking way in hell you've not been there.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Like, and actually, it's funny you bring this up, because when I did that genetic testing, one of the things that
we know how to do, I can prove it now in a second.
He was kind of like, basically, do you ever feel some kind of way after, like, a big event or a big launch or, a big high in life?
CompT, MAOA, maybe? What? MTHFR?
Yeah.
How did I know that?
And he was like, you're a hypermetabolizer of like everything. He's like, you burn through dopamine so fast, you get depleted. And then I literally was thinking, I had my wife.
That's what I was going to talk about.
She's an FNP and specializes in this and shit. And she was like, she did this depression questionnaire with me because I was feeling just fucking depressed as fuck. She's like, if you were my patient, I would consider maybe medication. But once I found out that I was burning through dopamine like that, I just padded more time to allow my levels to kind of come back up and change my diet a little bit to, I brought up my healthy fats a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. But there's a neuroscience to that now. And they do brain scans on people that show that parts of your brain when you get there are not firing. So this is why you can't hear your intuition in those moments. You're only afraid of like what's missing, what you can't control. Shit. Right. And so your lizard brain is on. So it's called your reactive mind. That is not the fucking time to make decisions. Because, and this is how the best make big bad decisions, because they don't know you're on a path that's like a neuro condition. And because you don't know what it is, you think it's you. You think what I'm feeling is real, therefore I should act.
I'm trying to change everything all the time to get better.
Any woman will tell you there's like 7 days where they shouldn't be making decisions, right? But they learn that. But think about the switch, and this is why we can talk about this. If I see it, if I know what it is, then I got the narrative. And the narrative is, I'm going through a low. I'm going to observe it. I'm going to do the things to get me out, and I'm going to be right back out.
Exactly.
But if you don't know you're in a low and you don't know when it's going to end, you say it's me. I'm feeling this way because, and so then you start looking outside of yourself to figure out what's missing.
That's exactly what I was going through. Exactly.
And I'll be able to explain the whole thing through my addiction journey. Because that's the anhedonia, what you experienced in 3 days. I want you to magnify it by 20. And that's what it feels like to come off of like high dose cocaine for months. That's why they always go back. Because the dopamine receptors have to grow back. But literally you are always burning your dopamine receptors. And just like blood glucose, you can only have so much before the cells are like, nah, bro, I can't really handle it. So they turn down sensitivity. So then guess what happens? It takes a little bit more and a little bit more to make you feel the same. And that's why more is more until crash. And physiologically, a lot of things are changing in your body. This is why high performers like you and I will not get obesity, but we will either die from cardiovascular disease or cancer. And that's because when we're in that too high a dopamine, you have 2 parts to your immune system connected to your nervous system. This is the stuff that we work. So even though it looks physical, where we start in our program is here. So half of my work is actually life coaching, because I'm trying to get in your head. because I got to get you to change the way you think while I'm working the body. The body's easy.
Yeah.
It's the mind. And
that's
so
what
we
I was reading
realign.
about the hormones or psychological aspect of your work. Yeah.
Right. So and we've learned that when we go bottom up, meaning I work the 4F system to realign your body.
Yeah.
And we work top down through what's called our 4R mental framework and how we get you resensitized. We get stimulating other hormones too. So the way to counterbalance and always stay good on your dopamine is to make sure that you do things that stimulate serotonin and oxytocin. And sometimes, so when people are really burnout, we give them low-dose naltrexone, oxytocin.
Really?
Yes. And then we start putting them through brain retraining to start stimulating dopamine in healthy ways.
It's kind of like just help them boost production again a little bit on their own.
We don't want to overproduce. We want you to get resensitive. It's like a bodybuilder. Everyone can understand this. If I give a bodybuilder a shit ton of steroids, okay? So let's say he's on 200 or 400 cc's testosterone. He decides to go to 800. He'll feel great for 4 weeks. But if he doesn't stack more or add more, he'll actually have symptoms of low. And the reason that is that at certain higher volumes for too much for too long, your body turns down its sensation. So that's what comes back to level. So how do I get a bodybuilder to feel good again? I pull it out, right? Start stimulating with natural, so HCG or a little Clomid to get natural levels back restored. Then we do other things to help stimulate you on just like other functional building and things to support muscle. But then all you have to do is stay there. Usually, if you haven't been messing around too much, this is where intensity will decide the duration after.
Yeah.
If you're a madman like me that was on the rage, it can still be 8 to 12 weeks. But for most of us, it can be 3 days.
Oh, wow.
You can be locked back in after going through 2 years of a divorce and like launch or whatever you're going through. You can get out of it if you know exactly what to do in like a 3-day process or a 10-day process. That is what my flush does. It's a dopamine reset, and anyone can do it for $77 and it'll change their life.
That's the most precision nutrition thing I think I've ever heard.
Awesome, man.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah. And so my book's coming out. That's part of what my book's coming out.
Kind of that? Okay, great.
But I'm going to start very much from the physical, explaining like what's happening in our bodies first, because we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
If you hadn't lived what you just experienced, me and you may disagree on the narrative you told yourself about what that moment was. We may have disagreement, but on body, it's like I'm fucking fat or I'm
that fed directly into that was right around the timing that I got those results the summer going into the fall when I was turning 36 when I went on TRT.
Yes.
And I was like, well, this explains it. Oh, obviously I'm low, I'm getting old, my hormones out of whack, my T's low, or it wasn't even low, it was like mid to high fives, 60s, 70s, whatever.
Not technically low.
But based on my quote symptoms, I went on for like 14 months, and then I was like, actually, I don't fucking need this. Like it was just like only do I want it kind of thing.
Exactly.
And then Clomid off for like 2-3 months, and then now like I haven't been on anything in 2 years. Yeah, May will be 2 years, and my natural T is like pushing 800.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So you got
hot damn. There was the episode.
We got a lot of fun stuff, right? A lot of fun stuff.
This is my second cup. Have you heard of Strong Coffee Company? So it's organic instant coffee, L-theanine, hyaluronic acid, MCTs, coconut water extract, 15 grams of collagen. It's just like smooth sailing, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's a perfect combination.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'll max out at like 200 to 220 milligrams caffeine a day.
You've naturally learned to figure that out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but that's how timing. You keep. So what you're doing is you're playing the chemistry game of how do I stay at the top of my game?
Yeah.
But then don't oversaturate my dopamine receptors.
Yeah.
Because you'll start to notice if you go too far with that. I'm in this place that's getting you back into anhedonia.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about.
It's crazy the things that we can experience and we think it's one thing or just based on bro science or like what we see online, we just automatically dump into a bucket of, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Or even like behaviors of, oh, I read or heard on Huberman or read this blog article that X amount of dose of caffeine or this timing is what everyone should do. But case in point, like we are our own individuals and that was like fucking me up.
Yes.
Shit.
And that's why research today, when you look at research, as things change, it's very important that you read research and search your demographic. Mm-hmm. Like, is it data on you? And then look at the people. What's their environment like? So what we like to do rather than that too is take it a step further. What's the research based on your symptomatology? Mm-hmm. and your genetic SNPs, because you have what's called the warrior gene, which only about 20% of the world has.
Yeah.
And that gene, when it's activated,
is that ApoE2?
There's also that one as well.
Okay.
That goes alongside of it. That's also for the Alzheimer's and things like that, but also cholesterol.
Well, there's another ApoE. I think. Is it ApoE?
MAOA?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, it's connected to CompT.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, CompT and MAOA are the warrior genes.
You know what? I should have. We should have pre-gamed on this. I actually have.
Bro, I got no problem coming back and just doing that, or you can bring it up.
Yeah, but this. Sorry to interrupt you.
But maybe it'd be cool to bring context. Yeah, of course it did.
Shit, do I have it in here?
By the way, anyone that you absolutely admire that's like did something great, you have that same gene. They have that gene.
Why is it called the warrior gene? Is it just kind of
and that's what we can cover this, but you make shorter dopamine strains and you detox slowly, not fast. You are a rapid metabolizer in your body because of how much dopamine you have, but when dopamine gets into your system, it detoxes slowly. That's why you get a stimulation, you get locked in on something, boom, you're in it, you don't eat, you're technically high.
Yeah.
You're high on that. That's why we can outdo anyone. That's why we outthink, we can do whatever if we go hard enough. But that superpower comes at a cost. So it's the Van Gogh effect.
What's that?
The Van Gogh effect is if you want to become obsessed as you can about anything, the more obsessed you become, the greater you become, but the greater you dance with insanity. The further you go, you can become the greatest painter in the world, but in the midst of becoming it, you cut your ear off.
I was just going to say, if anybody sees me doing a podcast and I'm missing part of my ear, I've gone too far.
You see?
Call it help.
Yeah, it's guys. Many of us have, of course, greatness within us, but individuals with the warrior gene, right, have a distinct advantage in the world of performance and in the world of gathering resources and those things. But then we have a huge detriment in terms of the other needs, the spiritual and emotional needs of love, contributions, the spiritual growth, because we get disconnected from that. And it's very hard for us to maintain those relationships and stay in connection.
We disconnect ourselves from that.
Yes, we disconnect
through the pursuit of our task.
Yes, but it's the neurobiology of it. And once you understand it, and when you know how to time stops, this is where I need to do this or I need to do that, you can get everything you ever wanted and actually love your life.
Damn. Powerful,
right?
Wow.
That's what I mean. This is where my pivot and my content's pivoting.
Yeah.
That's why I'm speaking all over doing this talk. I've got a 30-minute talk I'll share with you, like with the slides and the science.
Yeah.
Dude, the science is fantastic. When you combine the actual clinical evidence of my experience and over 55,000 people that I've worked with, but you combine it with the actual science that does exist, it makes this so cool. You can't say it's too holistic, but it does meet their needs. And you can't say it's not science enough, so the scientific community will listen to it. I'm trying to find this middle ground between real life bio-individuality and also the science. So the woo-woo community and the science community can enjoy this.
That's the ultimate goal, man. That's you're speaking my language. That's exactly what I, unbeknownst to me, have been after for years. It's more conscious the last couple years. Yeah. Once I kind of got to a point, I think just a certain place in life, a certain age, a certain place in my marriage, now having a kid, a certain place in business. By the way, thank you.
It was
3 months. 3 months now. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Shout out Baby Dean if you're
watching.
Awesome,
man.
Well, I definitely, before I forget, I just want to pull up a tab here in my notes because I definitely, I'll have to put you on the clock for this, man. I'm going to pull up, I did this genetic testing I was telling you earlier a few years ago. They walked me through all these hypermetabolite situations I was going through and even the warrior gene. And I want to dig deeper on there. But, Vince, welcome to the show, man.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Great to be here. I'm definitely starting off with a bang in a direction that I wasn't expecting, but ultimately where we all should be getting to.
I felt like this would be it for your audience. So if you would strap in, I think you guys are in for a really great time.
Yeah. So I want to start first and foremost under kind of the genre of diet. A lot of what you do, correct me if I'm wrong, everything you do kind of encompasses one's diet. And now that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I'm dieting because I'm trying to get ready for bikini season. I'm dieting to step on stage. I'm dieting just meaning I'm making different choices around the quality of my food. So diet is a very, I think, misconstrued word and is one that all of us are consciously or subconsciously after the best one. So is there a best diet?
So I think you're asking a great question. And so Vital Coaching right now is one of the largest one-on-one functional health coaching companies with a medical team in the United States. But we do life and health coaching, because when you say diet, I would expand that word. We redefine what nutrition means. What are you feeding yourself mentally, physically, spiritually? So what is the best diet? That is a great question, because it's not just what you're putting in your mouth. In fact, latest research would suggest it's what you're putting in your brain that dictates your health more than what you put into your mouth. Not that we don't, structurally speaking, it's easiest to start with your body. So that's where the journey begins, which is why you're asking me that question. It's like whenever I'm in a place that I don't know where I am, where I don't like where I am, or I don't know where I want to improve myself, it's easiest to start in the physical realm. Start with your body, and it will clear almost everything else up. That's an easy roadmap from a bottom-up approach.
Yeah.
But it is, what is it, McDonald's or is it Whole Food? You know what I mean? And so that's the question. And so when we say best diet, if we go back to nutritional space, the best diet would have the most diversity. That's the first thing that no one talks about, because any diet that gets overly restrictive for too long all has a side effect. Carnivore, keto, intermittent fasting, I mean, you name it. Not that they're not great tools. They absolutely are. But in the longevity game, one of the things that we see is the most diversity supports the best microbiome. So usually that's found in the Mediterranean. That's why people say plant-based, but it's not vegan, but it's a place of like pescatarian, Mediterranean. Or if you're someone who loves diets, it's called diet variation. So what we do know about almost all human beings on this earth, no matter where you come from. So if we were to go to, there's small tribes in Antarctica that only live on seal blubber. So you've got a couple of those.
Wait, hold on. People live in Antarctica?
Like, are there tribes close to Antarctica?
Okay,
getting close to, I think in the lower
the
side.
Arctic Circle.
Yeah, Arctic Circle area.
Yeah.
And also like far out in Alaska and then way up, but they only live on like one food source.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty rare to find that though, and they're very acclimated to that.
I know there's a tribe, actually, I think in Alaska, that they are the only people I think in the States allowed by the U.S. government to like still hunt whale, because like their diet is like 95% whale.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. Right. So, but outside of that, variation occurred naturally. And so the thing that we're missing, because when we're doing like tests on the microbiomes, we can correlate a direct relationship between your cellular age and your telomeres or your general health and the amount of diversity that you have in your microbiome. So as aging accelerates, your diversity begins to get less and less and less and less. That's a massive problem, right? And we don't value it enough, and we're learning that in the Human Biome Project, which is what's still going on today. And so people don't understand that like any diet that you eat, if you overeat it too long, it becomes the problem.
I think that's news for a lot of people.
Yeah. But if you apply the logic to anything you've ever thought about, if you've ate the same food for too long, it eventually upsets you. At some point, you start getting sensitive to it. You'll end up taking breaks to stuff, or you'll get aversions. But I think that's another reason you get aversions. It's not meeting your needs anymore. It's like then you get a desire for something else, variety.
Or you're not getting the same results with body composition goals, energy goals, strength goals, things like that.
It comes down to fundamental physiology 101. Your body has a hormetic response to everything, meaning that if I do a new workout, depending on what type of workout that is, so if it's like hypertrophy and it's lower intensity, I will develop new mitochondria in relationship to that workout up to about 8 weeks, potentially a little bit longer. You can get to 8 to 12 weeks, but if you do HIIT cardio, it's only like 4 to 6 weeks. So you have a pro-adaptive period in response to a stressor, and then a maladaptive period. That's why runners can't just run more. More is not the answer to everything, because there's a hormetic window. There's a right amount of poison, and then there's the dose equals the poison. Food is no different. You know how they say like tuna, it could have metal in it, right? Mercury. If you're eating a diverse diet, it doesn't matter. But if I'm eating tuna 17 times from a can, that little bit of mercury, that one toxin is going to build up in me and make me sick. We get toxins from all foods, by the way. Let me just say, there's no bad food. There's only bad things humans do to food. Let's be very clear about that. When we start getting into this stuff, this food's bad or that, this is a terrible place to go. And we're creating more fear than good. And you're just making people sicker with fear. So don't oversell fear. It needs to stop on social media. It's gross, right? I know that it drives capitalism, but you're hurting more people than you're helping. And you say you're here to help people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Couldn't agree more.
Fear this and fear that and fear this and fear that. And then everyone's running around, But doing that to your nervous system is going to make you sick. That'll make you sick.
Yeah. And any dietary advice other than consuming processed foods all day, every day, I would dare say if it starts out with never or always, turn the channel.
Exactly.
Go follow somebody else.
They're selling you a religion, not a diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think the thing that's important for people to understand, though, is that what the trick is that because they're naturally used to be seasonal variation, in your cell, you have two fuel reactors. You have your, let's say, coal burning furnace, and then you have your recycling bin. So think of biodiesel. So what people have to understand is technically what's happening in your body all day is I burn glucose and then I burn on the AMPK fat pathway. And it doesn't matter whether you're eating or not, you're doing it all day. And the reason this happens is simple physiology where if I run on sugar, which is good, performance, go, all the things, they're left over from burning the sugar are called glycolic end products. Think of it as like nuclear waste, oxidative stress that comes from burning the sugar, okay? That is supposed to go away on the AMPK. So like, for example, if I eat food, my sugars should go up for 2 hours. Don't be afraid of sugar spikes. And then it's supposed to naturally go, or 1 hour it's peak, 2 hours it goes back to normal. After I've started to run through all that food, then I'll start to burn restored sugar, triglycerides, and then I'm moving more into fat. That's why when I eat food, insulin and glucose will go into the fat cell. Fat cell will release leptin. Leptin will tell us to start burning fat, okay? That's the natural process. So even when I'm eating carbs, I'm burning fat, okay? Why is that important? Not from an aesthetic perspective, but from an oxidative stress cellular perspective. The cell has to be healthy.
And preferred metabolic process in the body. Initially, at least. Right.
Yeah. So then there's all this leftover glycolic end products. Then when you switch over to fat, guess what? It cleans all that up, puts it through. It's a recycling of energy. Your body recycles everything, by the way. It'll recycle that energy and put it through AMPK. So that's where the recycling bin happens. We get rid of damaged cells. We get rid of like bacterias and different stuff that we can't detox through our liver. We break it down, consume it, and then process the rest out of AMPK.
Are you talking, is this autophagy?
Yes, it's part of it's part of that process like autophagy. Autophagy exists in AMPK. Okay. So ketone production to lipolysis is occurring over here for the most part. Does that make sense? Like breakdown of fat. So you're supposed to go back and forth all day. So the problem with the same diet all the time, like the same thing. Let's say I eat this graham cracker and I friggin' love this thing. That graham cracker has a certain amount of toxins in it and you break down food, it's got glycolic end products in it, whatever. That's not a problem, okay? Eat it for a while, no problem. But if you eat that a lot all the time, your toxic load doesn't get higher maybe because you're eating the same amount of food. That's why calories matter. That's why calories and toxicity go together. If your body isn't healthy and can't clean itself up very good luck feeding up and having good results from that long term. That's why bodybuilders a lot of times live 10 years shorter. Even though they've got 7 to 10 years, they were looking at. There's a couple studies out of the UK. Because you can't run on mTOR all the time. And when we're pushing mTOR, which is how we build muscle and hormones. So and then body size puts stress on the heart.
Yeah, true. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So muscle's still good, but to a point. There's a hormetic window even to muscle.
Yeah, hypertrophy in all muscles not necessarily a good thing. That's where we see so many people, unfortunately, heart attack, cardiovascular disease, embolism, pass out, die. Yeah.
Right. But then we don't want to over fast all the time. This fasting community thing is like gone way overdone.
I want to get into that later a little bit more specifically as well.
So, but again, stay on this topic. If my toxic load stays the same, but it's not diverse, because you have about 4 or 5 main detox pathways in your body. So if that graham cracker is one pathway and I eat it all the time, what did I tell you? The dose equals the poison. So that one toxin, if it builds up, even though my total toxic load hasn't changed, that can make me sick. And it can build up in my body. But if I stay diverse and I'm getting a bunch of little everything, doesn't affect our immune system, your body cleans it up just fine. This is why naturally in human nature, what used to happen, Paleolithic times, we would be hunters and then we would be gatherers. So carbohydrates go high, protein would go low.
Our diet and fuel source changed with the seasons, changed with what was available,
which created natural variation.
Not because we wanted to get shredded for the ice age or the summer. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the trick is, we didn't know for the first 30 to 40 years of research that part of what we were looking at is the most well-studied thing in research today, which is the placebo effect. 1 out of 5 people, or at least a 20% improvement can happen in people just believing that the thing is working, which is why we test drugs against people's belief. Belief is so powerful that the only way we know if a drug works or not is to compare it against people that believe that they got the drug.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or even surgeries.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen some wild, there's one telltale story came out of like this doctor, he kind of got shunned for it, but he was doing knee replacement surgeries, quote, knee replacement surgeries. He didn't actually perform the surgery with anybody. He put them under, would like make a cut, make them think they went through it. Everyone reported no pain, getting back to their normal swing of life. And he's like, I didn't do anything.
Did he get in trouble for that?
Yeah.
I wonder, but that's where you challenge is that I challenge that.
The ethics versus do no harm.
I know. So that I'm going to find that because that's a great
a surgeon out of a believe Texas a while ago.
Yeah. So what I want people to get out of this, what I want them to understand is that there was natural variation occurring. So the placebo effect, we didn't realize we were observing it for a long time. Then we put the standard in of the placebo effect, right? We now measure against it. What I want people to understand, do you notice how all research on nutrition is probably 8 to 12 weeks?
Yeah, why is that?
So your body will positively respond to any stressor. You know, the funny thing, if I were to give you, if you're a healthy person and I were to give you just a little bit of mercury, just a little bit, the amount of antioxidants that you would make to that mercury, I could technically claim.
Mercury makes you healthier.
Technically. So remember, dose equals the poison. Parts per million, understand that toxins make you make antioxidants, which is why plants have lots of toxins. But the net effect of it, provided if you're healthy and you have the genetics that make it work correctly, the hormetic effect of that micro poison, just like going to the gym, a pro-inflammatory event led to a bigger antioxidant event, which led to a net antioxidant event. The problem is how well your cells work to create the antioxidant event, not the stimulus. We blame stimulus, but sometimes we're not realizing that our genetics and how healthy our cells are on a cellular level. You fix the cell, you get well. And then you can handle lots of calories, you can handle lots of toxins, you can handle toxic situation, people, places, and things. Your capacity gets bigger. That's what all my book's about. We're missing the point. It's a race to the bottom right now, where it's like, what I mean by this is that everyone says to keep cutting calories. It's calories in, calories out. So this is the idea.
If weight loss is your goal, right?
Yeah, but just in health too, they're saying keep your calories low.
Okay.
In general. You got the fasting communities, you got these communities saying this. And what I'm getting at is that if every time you lower your calories to try to maintain your weight, what starts to happen? You're reducing your capacity, your metabolic capacity. Your body's getting trained.
Your metabolic rate just keeps going down.
Right. This is why this doesn't happen as much to guys, but happens to women all the time. Their metabolism starts to get slower and slower and slower. It's called adaptive thermogenesis. Guys will overeat, we'll do stuff, and luckily our muscles will forgive us a little bit.
And when we overeat, it kind of like it stokes the fire a bit.
That's right. You got it. Right. You understand that. Yeah. But that's culturally okay for us. And I think a lot of women, when they're very nervous about the world and they're trying to control a variable, it's very easy to just control diet in our bodies, especially with women are very worried about their value in the sexual marketplace and like their value as a person being and femininity and embodying that. And so then it ends up coming into this focus on that.
There's that psychological aspect you were talking about before.
Right. So we'll get into that. So then there comes pleasure from right? And so then women just naturally begin to over-restrict. But the final statement that I'll make on this is that all I want people to realize is that dieting isn't as complicated as you might think it is, provided that whatever the season is, that what you're trying to do, try to eat diversely. In general, probably try to eat a little bit higher protein, okay, in general. Make sure that there's an intentional time of the year that you switch your diet up. So whether that be like 8 weeks out of the year or a couple times out of the year, that maybe you get rid of your carbs and just go protein.
Yeah, when you say change up your diet a couple times a year, you mean like exactly like change a macronutrient? Are we fluctuating calories or like go from keto to Mediterranean?
So you have multiple forms of variation. that I have a diet. If people are interested, they can always message me, diet variation. We give them a guide. They can pick.
Okay.
You can pick food source. You can pick a macro, or you can pick not eating. So you can do fasting.
Okay.
Right? So there's multiple ways to create variation in your diet. The easiest way for most people, if they don't want to think about it too much, is they eat Mediterranean because it has the most variation. Okay? So they want to try to eat more diversely. That's harder to control your macros in that. And I don't want people getting stuck in a macro counting world. I don't think that's sustainable long term. I think you should learn it.
Yeah, so you generally your carbs with your macro split in fruits and vegetables. It's pretty damn hard.
Yeah. So, but what I want people to understand is one of the easiest ways is eat diversely, and then 8 to 12 weeks out of a year, particularly 12. And we got to get back to the research on this.
Okay.
8 to 12. 12 is about the sweet spot where you like take all the carbs out. That's an easy way to do it. Or just totally switch up the foods you've been eating. Like that's why I like people to go to fish and other healthy, like maybe buffalo, elk.
Are you talking a total swap for the protein source here, for example? Instead of like beef and chicken, I'm going just game and fish. Yes. So it's not just in addition to, it's a substitution.
Substitution.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can just try substitution by itself, but if you want to get better at it, where you get really good result, you'd want to switch energy sources. So I would love people to go to almost like a paleo or a carnivore or a keto or an intermittent fasting, because it pushes AMPK for 8 to 12 weeks. And that'll clean up your body. It's like a detox for your body. We teach this. If you do that out of the year, their lives would change. Like they don't understand that.
I see this all the time. I know mutual friend and client, Anna Nassery. I see this all the time. She's in her keto era. I'm like, you seem to just kind of like cycle through keto every once in a while. Now I know exactly
This is why diet variation. Now you can create, you want to get real cool with it. You can create weekly variation where.
What would be the benefit of that?
I believe the key to longevity, if I had to give you the best diet ever, it's not the diet, it's a 36-12. You don't eat one day, you eat the next. You don't eat one day, you eat the next. I don't think human beings were actually all year round designed. I think the reason disease sets in is because we're eating all the time. I think the reason we get cavities, I think the reason that everything happens is because we have access to food, but our bodies were not designed for that. How do you think we got to this far? Do you think that there was water and food available to Paleolithic? I mean, they must have went months.
It wasn't high noon and like, time for lunch.
Yeah,
or,
not even close, right? And I think remember, science and technology have brought our caveman bodies that are still set on that genetic preset into an environment that is not really optimized for. And that's going to continue to happen. And we've seen we teach 36-12 strategies. Another way for but not all year. But another one is just OMAD eating. Eat as much as you can possibly eat in one meal. The crazy thing is when we see people doing that, all their health markers get better. And literally, if you get good at it, you could eat. Honestly, you could eat pizza. You could eat whatever you wanted.
So you're saying to get all your total daily calories just in one meal?
One big meal.
For the 36-12 you're talking about?
Now, of course, listen, or in a 36-12 where you can go to OMAD living.
Okay.
For a while, 5 days out of the week, go OMAD. Like how I live is a 5 and 2 schedule. So 5 days out of the week, I only eat if I'm in a week of performance. I'm only eating in a 5-hour window, 2 huge meals, right? And then on the weekends, I'm eating all day. My hardest training is on the weekends. I don't like training fasted, so you got to think about how you want to do that.
Yeah.
You can do it for a few weeks out of the year, but I'm telling you that the amount of oxidative stress from pizza it doesn't outweigh eating lots of food all day. That's more inflammatory.
Okay.
But remember, it gives you a lot to think about. All I want people to do is to start thinking a little differently and approach. There's so many things that you can do that you don't have to get it perfect.
Yeah.
You don't have to at all.
Yeah.
You start adopting some of the things that I'm talking about. The easiest thing to do is to start adding intentional variation into your home. Hey, honey, it's like, let's together 8 weeks out of the year, 12 weeks out of the year, we're going to go ahead, maybe for spiritual reasons, which I want to thank Jesus Christ for allowing me to be here today. I forget to do that in the beginning, but fasting. What do you think the principle? Part of it's spiritual, but dopamine resetting, but then part of it's medicinal, which is why every religion in the world agrees on one thing, which is fasting. And so, hey, we're going to fast carbohydrates and we're going to focus on proteins and meat, or we're just going to fast in the day and we're only going to eat from 5 to 9. You throw something like that in just like 8 to 12 weeks out of your year, you don't have to think as much on some of the other stuff. Or you throw in one day a week, you throw in a OMAD.
Okay.
Beginning of the week, you just eat one meal. Like you throw a little something. Those are little things that you can do to create variation that will bring like value to your life. And there's so many cool ways to do it that you get to, it's fun.
Yeah.
Because there isn't.
It's not restrictive.
No.
Which I think where a lot of people might be hearing this or hearing familiar parts of what we're talking about and just hear all the things in the past of what someone has told them or what they believed that they can't do in order to have the diet or the health of their dreams. Yeah.
They've shown that keto done too long possibly could cause cancer. They've shown how carnivore done too long can possibly cause health issues. They've shown how eating too much, the diet that's worse is when people stay on a lot of plants with no meat for really long periods of time with not a good microbiome, and then they're trying to fast food vegan it. Those people get the sickest, malnourished and all that. Doesn't mean I don't love plant-based diet. I absolutely do. But the reality is that you got to cycle off them plants. You're not supposed to be on them all year long like that. Like it creates overgrowth in the gut. Too much bacteria gets growing off all that.
How many vegans are going to be chiming in angry with the comments on that, I wonder?
But it doesn't mean that it's not right. So I'm validating them in a way. I'm just saying that like there is no one, we all want to find this path in like religions, and we're all fighting with each other. The answer is in between that. There's a middle ground, and we shouldn't get too overly specific or we start excluding everybody. And then we live in an over-informed age. Like this is the era of too much information and not enough organization and tailoring information that is particular to your demographic and your needs. And when you consume too much information and it isn't organized and it isn't applied, it actually leads to nervous system dysregulation, because I don't know how to sort what I just heard and I don't know what I'm feeling about it. And then I just leave it in this unprocessed space, which is why you see people when they're trying to get healthy, consume all this information and get worse for it every time. This is why I created my organization. We have 20 years of experience. We know what we're doing. And more importantly than ever, we're going to organize it for you so that it manifests in your life and you shut your damn brain off, because you're not going to find the answer. So like stick here and you're going to do great, right? We've done all the testing and we do pilot testing on almost every kind of diet, everything. I mean, there's nothing we haven't done in my organization of 120 staff. We check everything. Longevity, we're playing all the time. We're having fun with it. But then we learn how to apply it into people's lives where it's very practical and manifests a quick win so that you can continue on and be healthy.
I mean, that's incredible. And that should be, in my opinion, the gold standard when it comes to, I mean, you're dealing, it's not just health, it's people's lives. Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody at home, the reason that every supplement is studied in an 8 to 12 week window, every diet usually is compared to an 8 and 12 week window. And that is because I know that when I apply, this is all physiology in general. When I apply a stimulus, a stressor, so a workout stimulus or a diet stimulus or an emotional stimulus, that stimulus will have a hormetic window like of stimulation that's observable in the biofeedback up to 12 weeks. But you won't find the negative part of that till you usually get into the second or third season. Drugs too. This is why if you look at antidepressant research, you're going to find most of it 8 to 12 weeks. You're not going to find long studies because anything can be a positive input for a short period of time. And that's why I don't want people to get tricked. Like not that data isn't useful, and it is, but people know what they're doing. There's seasons. The body responds to seasons, 12 weeks.
That's why there's such a push right now. I think so many people are having such a come down and horrible side effects, long-term side effects from years of SSRIs.
Yes.
Because they 100%. Work in the beginning, but then long-term, it's just like, we're on the tail end now.
But easy example for anyone to understand. This is where, if anybody at home, I hope this empowers them if they, are on a mood or mind altering medication, which is totally okay, by the way, right? We're not shaming that decision. Like you got to do what you got to do to survive. I found cocaine, so it worked till it didn't. That was part of my journey. So I'm not judging fucking anybody. I don't know if you can cuss on here. I apologize, but like I'm no better than anyone else. I was trying to find the way out of I'm trying to solve the universal problem of how to live too. And I can understand it. Right. And so what happens though is that your body is so amazing and it is so adaptive and it learns. We are not measuring brain chemistry on these drugs. We are measuring symptoms. There's a big difference, okay? Because there is not one study that exists that shows that your depression symptoms are because of low serotonin. Not one, okay?
Why not? You would think that would be kind of
You can't measure it.
obvious.
You can't measure it. It's almost impossible to measure that level and know what's happening in the brain. They don't know how. They can't.
We can't measure serotonin?
No, not, especially like for me, when we're doing like, you can do urine with some blood. What are you doing? It's very hard to understand the behavior of the neurotransmitters. You can see activity. You can see, because like we're trying to measure it all the time. Just like it'd be perfect just to get your, we can see what you're excreting, but that doesn't mean that's what's like active and what's processing and what's freely available. That's why they can't. Look for a study on low serotonin levels.
I didn't know
You've never seen
really effectively measure that.
Yes. So what they're doing is they're doing symptomatology. Otherwise, there would be a test. Oh, you have depression? Let me test your urinary serotonin levels. It doesn't exist. Yeah. It never existed. So what we're looking at is symptoms, okay? And saying, hey, this made you feel better. Well, yeah. Guess what? If you feel low, I could give you caffeine. I can give you cocaine. I can give you psilocybin. I can give you an antidepressant. I can give you thyroid medicine. I can give you testosterone. I've got all kinds of things that I can provide as a stimulant to make you feel better. But if we don't solve the root cause, in 8 to 12 weeks, you feel the same. Or your body adjusted in that time.
Right.
So what I want people to understand is that the reason that most research on antidepressants shows no better than placebo at about 12 weeks is because after 12 weeks, the normal hormetic cycle has occurred. Your body will adjust to the antidepressant. Your neurotransmitter levels are exactly the same at 12 weeks. Okay. Now this is what we see behaviorally because we work at our clinics. We get people off these all the time.
Yeah.
And when we get them to understand that, do you know that right now you've been on it for 3 years, but actually your neurotransmitters are the exact same level than before you started it. You are in control. You were in control the whole time. You just thought the drug was doing it. Now, does that not mean that certain antipsychotic drugs at higher doses are not helping people with rare conditions? That's only 5% of the population, dude, okay? Most people are going through temporary periods of imbalance.
Been there, yeah.
Right, okay? There are real psychological disorders, okay? I'm not saying that there aren't, but it's a very small part of the population, okay? But what happens is after you start taking these medications, your body will up-regulate and down-regulate metabolism. So you're actually the same, but you believe you're different. Coming back to the belief.
It's like the belief, there's a catch-up period of belief to physiology, to biochemistry, to like what our mind perceives our health levels and quality of life to be at compared to what our body is actually doing.
Yes. So then now the game becomes, how do I help you maintain those levels and start weaning you off? We don't start with that. We start with the body. We start with making the body really healthy. All of your other hormones, everything else, get it real stable. And then everything else is easier to come off of. So the little bit of rebound that you go through, because every other hormone feels good and you feel good, you can withstand that. And if you got a coach with you and a community with you, that's how you approach someone and support them the right way so that they can actually get off that safely, effectively, and get right back out there and go, wow, I'm so powerful. Because I went through it. I have severe OCD disorder. I was diagnosed. My story is insane. 7 years old, overexposed to chemicals on a farm. It made my immune system weak. I got a massive strep 3 times in a row. The strep turned into pandas. So pandas. So when you either get a viral infection or bacterial, this is a streptococcus infection that leads to severe mental disorders.
Shit.
So immediately I go from a strep infection to, I think everyone's aliens. I'm touching all 4 walls. I'm washing my hands. I can't leave the house. I was boy in a bubble for years, dude.
Wow. Shit.
And it makes you think different because my world was rocked like at a very early age. Plus there's trauma in the home. My parents aren't. My father's trying to grow a massive business and also be a great father. He was not doing great at that at the time. they're getting ready to separate. So I'm living on this homeland. And now remember, I'm 40. Okay. I'm 7. It's 33 years ago. We know nothing. Okay. We have no idea. This is where, so I'm experiencing severe anxiety disorders. My parents think it's behavioral at first because we didn't understand neurobiology and we didn't understand these types of things. We didn't identify them then. So it started out was, I'm just a bad kid. Well, that was the narrative I told myself because you're going to believe the worst thing. It always is that way. We're always going to listen to that one person.
Especially when it's a parent or a medical figure telling you something.
Right.
Like, we believe that they hold this position for a reason.
Yes.
And, who am I to think anything different?
But also because when your nervous system gets dysregulated, you're always going to think worst case scenario because you're trying to protect yourself. So you're seeking for potential threats. So you're going to believe any evidence of potential threat over the safety of something that is good and safe.
Yeah.
You're always going to do that to try to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So that one person that said you're never enough, you're going to listen to that because it's like, what about me isn't enough?
I need to see signs of anything and
not see
everywhere
anything
else where you are. Yeah.
Right. And so what I want people to understand is I know all about this enough that then when we started opening clinics and the doctors and all the people that we work with and my battle through addiction, because after I got sick and I became obsessive compulsive, now it's a condition. It doesn't matter what caused it, it's there. So I have the same genes that you do. And so I have the COMT gene. It leads to addictive behavior. I didn't know this. When I started using substances, it fixed me for a while. Like the voices were gone, everything was gone. That's why I began self-medicating, but also having fun and partying.
Wow. You really kind of hear the opposite usually. If people kind of go too far one way with certain substances, it kind of gets them to a place where you were coming from.
Yes. But it goes the opposite. Remember, hormetic window.
The whole point we're talking about here is just like on which side of the scale are you when these changes are introduced?
Let me tell you, all drugs, whether it's a medication or not, usually has a positive hormetic window. Alcohol for like courage and strength and like there's opportunities with alcohol. Any drug has a positive hormetic window. So it starts out good. Cocaine did solve my problem. If I could prescribe it to people with generalized nervous system and obsessive compulsive, like I was like focused.
Oh shit.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It works till it didn't.
Yeah.
And then I overdid it. Right. And then that is where all the when my journey then goes traveling the world, learning from practitioners, opening up my own clinics, I started and the 12-step recovery, I was trying to figure out why the 12-step recovery made me successful in everything in my life, relationships, business, all the things. I was trying to figure out what is the neurobiology of why these steps are working this way. So we unpack that through our studies working with doctors and everybody else. And so now we can reproduce. I can help balance people's brain, like neurochemistry, along with their physiology in our 4-step process because I understand it. One, because I lived it. I went from infection to neurological imbalance to then addiction to then recovery and then getting into health now and then understanding those factors and what's happening to people in just life. We've been able to reverse engineer it. And that's why you see all the things that we do at Vital because of that. So it's like, I know that's a expansive topic, but
it's a lot.
Well, hopefully that helps people understand, like, why does he know, like, help certify me for people that, why is this guy who's coming out of nowhere?
A ton of history there and clearly a ton of evidence, but you kind of brought it up here. I want to get to, you do have this 4F process, this approach to what we're talking about. And a pretty wild stat I saw, you said, quote, you have a proven process with a 92 to 98% success rate of optimizing people's health and wellness sustainably. I want to ask, what exactly is that statistic a success rate of?
Yeah.
And what is the 4F process?
When people come in, so when people, from around the world, because it's virtual, we can see you wherever you are. When people come in, they do advanced assessments in the beginning. So we know that if you work the 4F process, which is all 11 systems of the body, one of your systems is your nervous system, right? But your nervous system is your brain and your central nervous system, okay? You have 11 systems of the body and they get off like a Rubik's Cube, okay? So your body's not broken. It needs to be realigned, okay? That's the first thing. You're not broken. You just need to be optimized. And so—
Real quick, just pause on that.
Yeah.
How many people needed to hear that first?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? You're not broken. You just didn't know. I lost 20 years of my life to disease. And I found out that when I put the right alignment, I got some functional medicine. I did some detoxing. I worked with a therapist. I got into the gym. I changed my diet. Those were the alignments. And when they fully gridlocked, one day I'm in with the therapist's office and the obsessive compulsiveness, I just went away.
Wow.
Like, now granted, am I still focused? Like, do I still have OCD tendencies? Of course.
But you probably stepped way more back into the driver's seat of your life, your mind, your body for the first time, maybe the first time ever.
One of the best therapists that I ever had, he showed me through cognitive behavioral and using chess how I could, if I wanted something bad enough, it would trump my obsessions. But I didn't know that I was doing that. We'll show people this all the time. It's like, you think everything's controlling you or whatever, but then when there's something you really want, all of a sudden you're totally in control. Or if you're really afraid or something, a priority needs to get met. Like if I don't have food or if I don't have a place to stay, all of a sudden your obsessions will be gone and you'll be figuring out how to get that. And that shows you that you're in control. When someone showed me that I had been in control the whole time, that I just didn't know how to control it, I didn't know how to regulate it.
That's the most liberating thing in the world.
I'm like, holy shit, this has been an inside job.
Shit.
Right?
Yeah.
But you have to be physically well enough for that moment to happen. If your body is dysregulated enough, it's almost impossible to think your way out of a mental or a physical condition. Only 1 in 5 people really are able to believe, and then their physiology changes, which is what the placebo effect is, right? Not everyone has access to that ability.
Well, I was going to say, is that an inherent trait or just a skill set that has not
I believe
yet
it
been
can be
exercised?
tracked. I believe it can be. I believe that because the genetic work that we're doing, I believe that if we took those 1 in 20 people or those 1 in 5 people, I bet they have the COMT MAO gene that you have called the warrior gene. I believe that very much. And I believe those people are so powerful in their belief. I think there are certain genes we could identify. I do. But can I say that is true right now? No, I cannot. I'm telling you anecdotally what I've seen.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So I think what's important, again, to go back to this is that the 4F process was designed because I was a sick kid. Then I ended up developing a health program. That health program gets picked up by one of the global leaders in functional medicine approaches to health. I trained under a doctor called Dr. Jeffrey Bland and the team at Metagenics. I learned everything about functional medicine. I was already big into nutrition. I also was doing personal training. I was also doing a lot of other things and trying to find my place or where I could help people. I get trained under some of the best doctors in the world. Jeff Bland is the founder of IFM, Institute of Functional Medicine. I then become the consultant to doctors all over the country. So I got to learn from the best of the best how they looked at healing. And I took all their little things and I organized it. Okay. I organized it into a process that can help anyone, anywhere, anytime. Where we come up with that statistic is when people come in, they sell their overall symptoms sheets and then we do their blood work and their genetics and stuff. Within 6 months, okay, over 92% of them have had greater than an 80% recovery, meaning that we call that success, right? So that's where we come up with that number. And when I say anything, I'm talking about autoimmune, I'm talking infertility, you name it, the body in a Rubik's Cube, actually, when you do the root cause stuff, there's not that many variables. When you put them back into alignment, the body will take care of the rest.
God, I cannot agree more with that statement. It's when you get down to the root of what it means to be in homeostasis, human to human to human, and you foster an environment that allows those conditions to thrive, I'm with you, man. I mean, barring a few things here and there, I really don't care what the quote problem is or what the goal is. No. You will get there.
The one thing that we've learned that can hold people back is that if in the process of how long they've allowed themselves to be sick, cells can get damaged and they can sit in your body. And then sometimes we have to put people through a process of getting those cells out.
Is this your flushing part?
This is the fasting part, phase F3. Because you can eat bad cells out of your body and then stimulate stem cells to regenerate new cells to replace those cells that have healthy mitochondria, healthy DNA. You can literally within reason, reverse some of the aging process. And we've watched it happen over and over and over again. And that's why we go around spreading the miracle that like your capacity, but neurologically, physiologically, you've been way undersold how cool that human body is. And it's about time you go out there and test it and see what it can do.
Amen, brother. Amen.
You're capable of so much more. But the only way to get there is to be guided to the truth. That's why I believe my primary goal is to bring coaching into medicine. And I've proven that the model works because we have medical coaching. We have our coaches, but there's also supported by the medical team. But the experience, the medical team's behind the scenes. What matters is this right here. Me getting you through the hard shit, having you have breakthroughs. AI is not going to be able to do that. But if we bring coaches into the medical space, you will change medicine forever, period. There's already data that shows this.
I used to be one. I don't know if you know this, but I was a clinical health coach and wellness director. I ran the wellness department and worked every day with patients for 4 years in a concierge medical practice.
That's it. What vital coaching is concierge medicine, but I've added life coaching.
Yeah. Amazing.
Making sure that we need it all in one place to organize it for you.
You know, when I introduced more of that into my coaching practice. That's why I left ultimately.
Yes.
I was literally this with our chief medical officer. And he was like, the numbers say this is what you do. And I was like, bro, you're missing the fucking
You're missing
person.
the point.
You're missing the person and the point.
But you're getting it.
Yeah.
The greatest technology that ever existed in medical health, hands down, is nursing. It's not penicillin. It's not cancer treatments. Every bit of medicine is delivered by a nurse today because a nurse is the human element of healing. Right? And I believe nursing's on the decline. And what's going to take its place is coaching. The outsourced, in-home virtual nurse, giving it a different name, that's going to guide you in different ways. So you're either going to go the route, ladies and gentlemen out there, you got a decision to make. Right now, what's happening is AI is going to give you a diagnosis. Amazon's going to drop off your pills. It's already happening right now. You can either allow that system to take care of you, or you can say, I'm not going that way. And you start to find practitioners who have more well-rounded root cause, working nutrition, mindset, or can still use some medications until you don't need them anymore. And that should be guided by a coach. You should bring a coach into your life. You should bring a coach into your family's life. And you will see the epic changes that occur from that. And if you underestimate what I'm saying, you will highly hurt your altitude in life. Hands down.
All I can say to that is, that's why I married one.
Yeah, amen, bro. Yes.
My wife is now a nurse practitioner who specializes in longevity medicine, hormone health.
I'm now your wife's biggest fan. Congratulations. That's amazing. So you see how you're blending them together?
Absolutely.
We call that hybrid health. That's why.
Who is also an IIN coach. She got an Institute of Integrated Nutrition Coaching.
Yeah, well, she needs to be an MMU certified. No,
sounds like it.
But that's the point. And we have to fight for each other. And the problem is, I can tell you a couple things about your wife. I guarantee I can tell you right now.
Send it.
She's a hyper performer, but has a hard time. She's kind of on her own. So she's doing it almost not alone, but she's the one that gets the vision. And it's very hard to organize everyone around her to move it forward.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All the greats.
Yeah.
The reason that functional medicine isn't further along is because we're not collaborating. Big medicine is collaborating. But we are on our own little soapbox, affecting our own little community of influence. And the only way that we're going to make it operational and nationwide is if we collaborate. That's why my mission is the 1 in 100, to create one of her for every 100 people in the United States. That's how we'll change the morbidity curve forever. You're not going to change it through policy. Don't drink 36-ounce Cokes. We're going to tax it. That's not going to save the kid who's living in a home that's only got Doritos in the cupboard, it has toxic people around him and is watching CNN and scrolling from 5 years old. That kid doesn't stand an effing chance.
Growing up with zero dopamine.
Right. You got it. Blowing it out all the time.
Yeah.
The only way we're going to stop this, if people think that a comet or COVID or whatever, if you think that that's what's going to get us, no, we're going to kill ourselves, dude. By 2030, 60% of the population will be obese.
Come on.
Not overweight. 51% will be obese. Not overweight, obese. Okay? And we can't stop it. And there isn't enough semaglutide to do it. I'm telling you now. Although that's going to help because it's a good tool, but people are going to abuse it as all things. Yeah. It has to be as somebody comes into your life, creates a relationship, helps you make a change. That's the only way to get it done. So how are we going to do that? We create a fucking army. Well, guess what? The fitness community has been doing things that are helpful, but not totally, completely useful in the bigger picture of things. Fitness gets bigger and we get sicker.
Yeah. It makes me think, actually, something I want to go back to a little bit of what you're talking about at the beginning. This is kind of just blowing my mind of how much this makes sense now. And I think we kind of grew up around the same era of fitness. We're now like in the second decade of, or coming out of, the if it fits your macros kind of period.
If it fits, it shifts. FedEx
exactly.
dieting.
Yeah. But like, here's the thing I want to point out, and I don't know about you, but I probably 9.5 out of 10 persons that I know that went through that bodybuilding training period, dieting of if it fits your macros, is now so far removed from that. And not only are they removed from that because of just like the boredom and feeling, but like they're having significant health problems. Particularly everyone I know, 9.9, whatever, their hormones are fucked. Hormones are fucked. So it kind of goes
That's
back
how I got my start.
Yeah. Like I can't think of a single person right now that I know from that period that is not going through some kind of massive reconfiguration of their diet, needing hormone therapy, needing hormone help, needing just like so much extra help. And it's like mind blowing for them because like, wait, no, I put the same amount of calories in, the same amount of food. I got these results. Like, why am I having such problems now?
Because the people out there that want to make the body a machine are missing the point. The body is not a machine. And what I mean by that is that a machine, if you give it an exact input, it gives you an exact output. A body is an ecosystem. And it requires balance to be operational, okay? To optimize, to get what you want out of it. Because we don't respect it as an ecosystem, looking at multiple variables. Because we're simple humans and we only want to look at macros to try to make life simpler. We're missing the bigger picture. And so when you want to say it's just calories in, calories out and make other people feel shamed or stupid because they don't understand that, you, sir, are the ignorant one. And what you don't know, because I went through that, is you're going to hurt a lot more people on that journey than you're going to help. And you're going to get to the end of that road and realize that like, I left the most important pieces out. Most of the time, this is why life coaching and health coaching need to go together. Those people are actually looking for real leadership and guidance, and they're getting macros. And
Absolutely.
So this is the problem. So then remember what I told you about diet variation. The problem is that you got so myopic about calories in and calories out, you are missing the diversity aspect. And when you miss that, you've messed the body up. That's why people like the $1 billion don't die guy, they're going to mess themselves up because they're overthinking and they're getting myopic. And the body is not about getting too specialized. It's about generalists. We have to generally understand everything and organize it. And then the body will give you what it wants. But because we don't understand any of these things, we get obsessed. We get locked in on a thing that we can control. And when we over control and we over obsess, we always ruin our metabolisms, our bodies, whatever. In fitness, we go there seeking fulfillment. Okay? We get a positive outcome and then we get obsessed. And there's nobody talking about the other side of it. So you just keep going. More is more. And the problem is if you don't learn about diet variation and you don't learn about how to optimize for both performance and longevity, if you don't learn about how to change your metabolism, if you don't learn about how to keep your hormones healthy, or don't learn about any of it and just go to someone who's got wisdom and not knowledge or just a bunch of success stories. Like I could make any woman lean, but if I'm hurting 7 out of them, but you only see my success stories on my page, because what I'm doing is I'm having him do an hour of cardio every single day, an hour of training every single day, and I'm feeding him next to nothing. That's going to make him look good. And you go, ooh, that guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. No, that guy knows that it's a stupid human trick. I'm going to hit this button and I'm going to you can abuse anybody and make it look good for a little while when they're 19 years old. But then how are you going to clean up the mess that you left at 37?
Exactly. Yeah. I think now if you're listening and if you've gone through that, if it fits your macros period and you got these crazy results, you were so myopic to your point, I'd be willing to bet one, if not all 3 of these areas you are struggling with: gut microbiome, hormones, and you're probably pretty damn lonely, depressed, lack of community, thinking all these things were going to get you attached to a community and solve a lot of these problems. Leadership, like you're talking about, gut health, hormone health, and mental.
Yep. Now, I don't want to shame the community altogether because the inspiration to go into that community and that community itself Do you know that those people, all they really want to do is be good at something and then be useful? That's what they really want. The gym saved my life because it was the first thing that showed me I could be good at something if I applied consistency. And the gym is beautiful. Fitness is beautiful. But if it's not balanced correctly, then we'll drive it off a cliff. Like the number 2 reason the internet's used is pornography. Does that make the internet bad? No, it just means humans take powerful things and abuse it, right? And so that's why there has to be the right leadership as you're going through it. Yeah. Because I want to convert if you go into any LA Fitness or any gym, there are people in there that all they want to do is help people. If you go, I hate Planet Fitness's view of fitness people because I promise you, if you take someone that doesn't know what they're doing and they legitimately walk up to any big guy or anybody that's fit and go, I really don't know how to use this. Can you show me how? That's going to make their day. All they wanted you to do was ask them that. Mm-hmm. What do you think they're doing? Like they want to be valuable. They're in search, yeah. Right? They're in search. Now there are some that go alpha and they get rude and like all that. Okay, it does exist, especially if you get on too much steroids. It just can make you more of what you are. I understand that, but most of those people want to be made useful, and that's why I'm a call to any of those people. If you want to call to a higher purpose, we can convert people at our university in a couple of weeks to teach you everything that I know and get you out there changing fucking lives really quick, so that because fitness is root cause medicine. It is a component, but you weren't given all the other tools. Mm-hmm. And when you learn putting them all together, you can still be a meathead and spiritually fit and like all that stuff. And that's what I want to convert those people. There's your army. Yeah. There's 2,000 game changers in LA right now. And they're sitting at the 24-hour fitness. They're sitting they just need to be activated. They just need to be activated, dude. There's game changers out there. They just want to be useful.
Oh, I know so many. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone listening, watching this show is one of those people.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. Yeah. And so, again, I don't want to overshame the fitness community, but I want people to understand that it will let us down at some point because the end of that road is not what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. But it's part of the road.
I want to shift into kind of getting towards the end here. This has been such a powerful conversation, man. Like it's palpable. I think a lot of what maybe people are already picking up on here is we get to a point of optimization. And I think a big mistake people make when they focus on optimization, also I think it's just a trending word and aspect of life right now, is they jump straight to optimization without having the foundation. Exactly.
Oh my God, I'm talking to myself here.
So walk us through why someone should not consider, again, not to beat a dead horse, what we talked about, why should we not consider optimization? What are things in the foundation we should really be building and keeping first? And then what are the first optimization tactics, supplements, peptides, hacks, whatever you want to do or call it, that are really going to move the needle for the majority of people?
Yeah, I think what happens is we become specialists and we need to be generalists, but generalist isn't sexy because it's not trending. And so the reason what I'm saying this for is that because of the world, we'll get focused on red light therapy, cold baths, which I still love and I promote on my page. Like I love that stuff. It's all great. But if you get lost in doing that and then you don't realize what you're eating, or you get lost in doing that and you're only sleeping 4 hours, or you get lost in doing that and your top 5 relationships are toxic.
You're doing all of that alone without anybody.
Yeah. Or you're off in that and you don't realize that you're confusing social media for real connection. Because the number one illness or causes illness is not food, it's isolation.
Wow.
The devastating effects of isolation on our psychology and our bodies is outrageous.
It's the most brutal form of punishment.
And I'm on here and I go, ooh, I'm getting connection. People are paying attention to me. Though that's only meeting your need for significance. It's not meeting your need for connection. And so the problem is when we get disconnected, we're not getting oxytocin and serotonin. It's dopamine. And when that happens, we become emotional addicts.
It's dopamine out. It's all dopamine out in that scenario.
Yeah, and when we're just trying to get more.
Yeah, exactly.
The most addictive thing in human beings is just this finger movement. The psychology of it is insane. That movement is almost more addictive than anything. Can you believe it? How many times have you been on your phone? Have you done this? I'm scrolling and I'm having an out of body experience. So now cognitive behavioral therapy, I'm over here, I'm sitting here, I'm watching me do this. And then the person over here is like, are you going to stop? Are you going to keep doing that? Like, is this what we're doing? Like, are you gonna
you black back in and you didn't even realize you blacked out? Are you gonna
keep doing that? And then I'm like, yeah, hold on a minute. I'm just gonna hold on a second. Like, wait, I'm just doing this. All right, at some point, I'll tell you what. I swear I'm gonna stop in like 1 minute. Okay, I'm done.
Just waiting to see one thing that actually hits. Yeah. God, man.
So that's the search for dopamine. That's also called anhedonia, which is that the low of dopamine in our search for significance and certainty. And so that's why people are chasing certainty and significance all the time, because that's where dopamine comes from. We lose all connection. When we lose connection, particularly with women require enough oxytocin and serotonin to make their nervous systems work correctly and their cortisol stay combated. Men don't use oxytocin as much as women do. That's why isolation to women becomes so detrimental. All of us, it is, but you'll see it more in women. That's why high-level female professionals, when they get to a certain level that it's hard to find men and all they're doing is working, having work relationships and then going home, the rates of illness go up 10%. So that's why high-level professional female executives are very sick and they're overweight. They're all overweight, most of them.
Well, I would even say underweight, but
or
have a lot of health problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either way, right? It goes one way. Your metabolism is really tanks and you gain a lot of weight, or you're underweight and you're dealing with all kinds of health issues. It goes one of the ways. Yeah. So that's what happens, right? So that would be the thing. That's why it's important. Fitness is a great example. Oh, I just go to the gym and I eat my protein and like I'm locked. And it's like that's, yes, great. Start there. Build confidence. But you better have someone wise in your life that like keeps you going on that track. So I always like to start there, right? For people. Outside of that, okay, so now sleep is the ultimate superpower. You can burn the jets, but you've got to get, and I know they say people, yes, you can get adapted to 6 hours. That's fine. But people, if you actually averaged out your amount of sleep, you'd be amazed. So we track all kinds of biofeedback. We got you on an HRV monitor. We're watching blood glucose. We got a CGM. We're watching these variables through your process. We're also tracking the amount of hours you're doing different things, socializing versus like sleeping versus like whatever, because we're trying to measure the variables to make sure you're getting enough of the right medicine.
Is this all quantitative data and measurements or anything qualitative in there as well?
Well, qualitative happens through our coaching sessions to say, how are we feeling? Okay. And then the notes section about how—
the feeling associated to all these biomarkers and biometrics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Crucial.
Yeah. So we're watching all of this. And then we also have— we make people have connection. We have accountability pods. You're forced into pods. We want you to come to our classes. You also get your one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
And we have our medical team come in and look over the top. We've just kind of created a layer. Because I got tired of dealing with doctors, like you ran into that, I said, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and open my own. That's why I opened my own medical clinics. And I leveraged them.
That's what you got to do.
Because they weren't going to listen to me.
Yeah. I left too.
I get it, man. I was like, done. I'm not doing this for you because you're not getting it. So all of those things first. Then after that, if I were to tell people what some of the most important biohacks and things that you can do are, I'm going to tell you right now, the one of the absolute best is cold therapy. If you're
cold water, cold plunge.
Yeah. The mammalian dive reflex is the most important thing that people don't know about.
Yeah.
It's super important that you can calm your nervous system with cold exposure. I hate when people misunderstand a stimulus versus the net outcome of a stimulus. Like, for example, everybody understands that with working out. Working out, it hurts, but then it causes an anti-inflammatory health effect. However, cold, no, you shouldn't do cold. So should people do nothing? Should they not work out? Because that causes an inflammatory effect too. Like, what are you saying? Like, you don't even know what you're saying. Like, it's logical. It's not wise. So I love that. I love morning routines. I'm telling you, your circadian clock, getting up before the rest of the world is one of the best performance hacks on planet Earth. I'm telling you now, if you get up an hour before the rest of the world, you will ultimately be more successful and much healthier for it, period, typically, okay? So keeping your circadian clock to the best of your ability is one of the best things that you can do. These simple things, I know, they're not sexy. I understand. It's not buying the PEMF mat. It's not the— I don't know, like it's not whatever. I love peptides too.
Yeah.
And we go there next.
Yeah.
But you got to have these fundamentals together. Protein should be probably your key macronutrient. You should switch it up a couple times a year. You definitely have to get in activity. The number one longevity thing is just walking or something that produces serotonin while you do it. So like bocce ball or whatever, like creates joy. Pickleball.
Rage, yeah.
What's crazy is the research shows that's probably better than anything in terms of longevity.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like a study or like people are pushing now for like to be the number one activity for longevity is going to be pickleball. I think it used to be tennis, but now like because pickleball is so much has less intensity on the joints and just risk for injury and stuff like that, but it's all community based.
Yeah. Now, granted, do I have all kinds of cool biohacks I could go over and we could do a whole pod. We can have a lot of fun. The dessert of cool things that you can do. If someone's at home, the best thing they could do for their health, in my opinion, if it's like something X's and O's, the number one biohack is make sure that you have I like dopamine reset, nervous system resetting walks post-meal. So you can do one right in the morning. Your morning routine is super important, whether people like want to believe that or not. I know Alex Hormozy doesn't have one, but this dude has one. Okay,
I got one.
Yeah, damn right. Right, or I get insane. Right, so like we're gonna handle it and get my glasses of perspective on and like rock.
The thing that rattles me the most in life is when that gets shifted.
Exactly. I wake up neurotic. I wake up as a natural state because of your genes. You wake up neurotic. You wake up for looking for what's wrong. Like you're surveying the land. I got to get this done. This might happen. This could happen. Right. That's why that's not a bad thing. If like zombie apocalypse happened, you'll survive because you're always looking for what's wrong. Congratulations. I won't
say I'm a prepper, but I've been planning. I'll just say I've been planning.
How do I know that? Right. I know. So just understand you are a beast set for a certain environment and you got to recalibrate that to be successful in this environment. That's all that is. Right. You're not broken. You just need to be optimized.
All right.
Right. And so what I want people to recognize though is 10-minute postprandial walks for longevity and health. But when I say walks, I want you in your body, not out of your body. So I want you thinking meditation. I want you thinking about talking to God. I want you thinking about going in your body, gratitude.
Walking with someone, conversing.
You can do that. I almost want dopamine reset with no stimulation.
Really?
Headphones quiet or frequency therapy, 532.
Yeah.
Love frequency therapy. Because that calming of your nervous system and the dopamine calms your immune system, calms inflammation. Micro amounts of that daily add up to a massive, your body does more of what you want it to do. You're able to sleep better.
Are we talking the same kind of magic 8 to 12 window as before? 8 to 12 week window? Is that kind of, if we do these things, we can kind of get that same peak experience?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to take the fun away. People listening to this are like, oh my God, I've heard that all the time. And it's like, well, okay, if you've heard it all the time, but you're still not where you want to be, you're probably not listening. And so, but I did want to point those things out. I mean, they're just super fundamental that everyone should be doing that they're not. I've hard pressed to find someone who's hitting all of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, why are we talking about anything outside of that if we're not doing some of those things? After that, then it's fun. Peptides of the future. If you don't know about them, you better know about them. They're here and they're not going anywhere. Yeah. They are the future.
I want to get there real quick. And I know actually, Thomas, man, I know we're over like block time for this. I don't have anywhere to go. Are we good on time? Chantel went over to Studio A. Okay. How are we looking on, what's the run time? Hour 23? Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm thinking. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would love to. You got time? I want to really hit all this stuff. I might I might split this up, but yeah, want to like.
Or man, listen, I got no problem. I'll come out again. Gives you good content.
Because you shifted your.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Me? No, you're fine. You just shifted.
He did or me?
Me.
Yeah, you. So I
God, would you?
I fucking amateur hour.
No worries.
All right, yeah. So I would love to get into. I think that first front end was like just incredible foundational wake up.
Yeah.
So now let's get like the optimization. Got the nice segue. Let's the peptide stuff because I am one. Peptides are something that have been. I don't even know. I couldn't call it new anymore in my life. They've been a part of my routine 3 years ish, and I think they have profound. I've experienced profound benefits. I've experienced some that like I couldn't tell you if they did anything at all.
Well, that's why. Yeah. And anything great becomes predatory. So let's be clear.
Okay.
Anything that I tell you today is me with our teams looking at the research, but then hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clinical experience. It's very important to find somebody when you want to know about something that you trust their wisdom. Do I think they're honest? Are they telling me something because they're trying to sell me something or they're really in the pursuit of truth? Find that person that's also done it a lot. That's very hard to find. You understand? Those are the variables that I look for if I'm going to listen to somebody. Is there integrity? Because there's a lot of people that you're going to meet that have knowledge, no integrity. They may have integrity, but they're not really trying to sell you something hard, so their bias is leveraged. So, okay, I don't like that. And then the third thing is, do they do the thing all the time? So you see a lot of doctors like Mark Hyman, you see Peter Attia, they talk about they slammed GLP-1s, slam them. None of them use them. I know their clinics. I work with their clients. You don't know anything about it. So what are you spouting your mouth off for when you don't know? Because you want clicks, right? But that just is, could you say, how about you clarify? Hey, everybody, I don't actually use these, but here's what I'm thinking the data says. That's not what they're saying. They're making declarative statements. They're saying this is what it's going to do. That's bullshit. And guys like that should be held to account, okay? Because you're supposed to be the leaders of this industry. And you're just out there spouting your mouth off and you don't know what you're talking about. Me, that's why when I look at people dead in the eye, I'm like, I know. I do the thing at a very, very high level. And I've seen so much volume that I can give you wisdom related to the actual thing. I've seen it past 12 weeks. In the peptide world, the only limiting factor is that the research is either vitro or vivo.
Meaning what?
You're testing cells by themselves, or you're testing it in like rats, mice, or whatever. They don't have, now there are certain peptides that have lots of research, but they don't have as many randomized human control trials, which is the gold standard. So we have to realize that a new world is emerging, but it can be manipulated.
No, does that matter as much when we're looking at something as a peptide? No, speaking personally, when you can take it and personally you get such an amazing benefit, shouldn't we be focusing on what moves the needle for us when we get into the optimization world versus needing proof from a randomized human clinical trial?
There are many things that you can take right now that will give you an early effect, but then the net is a negative. Adderall, that'll give you a lot of energy, right? Cocaine, we just talked about that. No, listen, there'll be a positive benefit in the beginning. Let me give you an example. There are side effects to overusing NAD.
Like what?
So not everybody needs it. And
not everyone needs it all the time.
Yes, not everyone needs it all the time. It'll lose its effect. And in certain people, it actually causes them to pass out, causes diarrhea. There's different things that like NAD is still good, but is it right for you? That's why we like to do genetics tests, because it tells us a little bit more about you and what it is. So like, yes, most things are good and we can be excited about them. But like, there are people out there that get excited about something and take too much of it. Brian, the billionaire, overdid the rapamycin and screwed himself up. In my opinion, he looks older for going through this.
Yeah, it's like the Benjamin Button effect. You might be like technically anti-aging, but you look like a young old dude.
I'm gonna be honest with the telomere data, by the way, it's highly fallible. Like to say that your exact biological age, like I don't.
Yeah, how do we know that?
That's what. Okay, so is the reference data really good enough? And then we see it in people that actually live longer. Like you have to be. This is what I mean. We have to be a little careful about the world that we hear. I don't go off I don't even care about biological age.
But I think also, not to keep nitpicking Brian Johnson, but also like, isn't that kind of his shtick to where we have no standard, we have no reference for really any of the things that he's doing? I think he's trying to become that reference, become that standard.
Yeah, and listen, I'm glad that people like him exist. I want people to be careful getting too myopic on one thing and not realizing that everything has a pro and a con. And so we just have to understand that when we wade into the world of peptides, we want to listen to somebody who's willing to tell you the con too, because doctors don't know about medications. Do you go in and go, okay, here's the deal. Like, we want to try and only keep you on this long because these are the things that can happen. When's an OB talked about the negative effect of a birth control? Ever. Right? We don't have these conversations. It's not full disclosure. It's promotion. And that.
Oof, damn. That's a harsh truth.
Yeah.
Shit.
Do you know most medical health organizations, networks, the problem right now is that insurance companies are paying less and less, and they pay out per prescription. So we're incentivizing a health community to give more drugs for the solution.
Yeah. In England, doctors are actually incentivized through financial and other bonuses when their patients don't need to see them as often, or they have actual medical improvements. Yeah.
I wonder how well that's actually playing out, because I'm not going to say that the healthcare in Europe's better than it is here, but
it's definitely different.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea of it. It's like Plinko. Sometimes you add a variable and it's like, I have no idea where this is going to go. Is it going to be a good or a bad thing? But I agree with you. Something has to change there, and we talk a lot about that. But so coming back to the peptides, now that we've had the adult conversation about peptides, okay? Like, warning, you're wading into waters where we don't fully know everything. But enough have been around for a really long time that have solid fundamental research that also we have seen in so many people that we can have really some fun conversations. And peptides, because they're at the peptide level, have less risk of side effect than something that's at the protein level. That's why you have amino acids. Amino acids come together in strands that make peptides. Peptides come together to make proteins, right? And so when you break things down to the peptide level, just like take, for example, collagen protein. Collagen protein has some benefits. You can denature a protein really easy. But one of the benefits is if actually you extract a peptide that makes it medicinal and then make that in an abundant amount and then give that to somebody, that could be a therapy. That's why I like collagen peptides versus collagen protein. So peptides allow us to get down a little more granular to what specifically is working inside of a protein, or specifically manipulate the body in a way that creates a very scalpel-like intended outcome, that's great. That's cool stuff. Which is why, like, some people that are really worried about skin cancer, one of the things I tell them to do is, well, then stay out of the sun at key high radiation times, use very little zinc oxide, and then for the rest of it, use melanotan 2. Melanotan 2 will make you tan. I don't think people know this. You can take a peptide that will make you tan and reduces your risk. Yeah.
Wow, shit.
That's what, so, it's like there's so many things that we can do that people just don't have no idea that this peptide world and where things are heading that like help us make like all these little cool technical changes in our life and have a great like optimization. That's why I love peptides. So when we have this conversation, it's like we could start wherever, but what do you want to talk about?
Let me ask you,
peptides?
Which currently popular peptide do you think isn't really worth the hype, and which one is?
Okay. BPC.
157? Mm-hmm. Are there other versions? I only know BPC has 157.
157. It definitely is good. In tablet for the gut, unless you got a really severe condition, longevity can be great in high doses, but the microdose that they're having people at 200 mics or whatever, 250 or 150 twice a day, that's not doing anything for anybody.
What about the pill versus sub-Q?
For injury, I like sub-Q better. Remember, I like BPC, I take it, but I have to really get a great outcome, I have to take it with thymosin beta-4 and BPC at high dose, called the Wolverine protocol.
I just got this. I haven't started it, but I just got this.
Oh, now that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
But now you're spending a lot of money. I'm trying to be realistic to most people. Right. So I don't know what your source is either. That's why I created my own medical company. Yeah. Well, see, I hate this guy shit. So we're talking about peptides and people are going to try to go find where to get them. You see?
He's a biochemist at a genetics facility.
No, so there you go. You got to hook up. Okay. But everyone's got a guy, and I don't want them doing that for the most part. You have a good litmus test for who your guy should be. I don't trust that they do. Okay. Yeah. Like your best friend, Tony, down the street and wherever he's getting his effing peptides from, like I'm good. Yeah. Right. So that's why I opened up Vital Med. Vital Med, we sell peptides really inexpensive to try, but it's pharmaceutical grade.
Well, BBC's off the shelves now, right? FDA pulled it, I think, last year.
Well, no, the two deca, what is it called? My goodness. Now I'm going to sound stupid, guys. Hold on. Don't let me sound stupid.
There was some, I think some.
No, they still have BBC. It's just under a different name. And a lot of places are still making it. We still have it. It is now Deca Penta.
Is that a formulation change or just like
something like that? Peptide. Hold on, let me get the name for it. Yeah, it's basically almost exactly the same. There's a new Penta Deca Peptide.
So
pentadecapeptide.
PDB is the new BBC?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes. So the game is going to keep being played.
Yeah.
They make a slight change to the peptide. They can't stop it.
So you're saying BBC you love, that's one that's really worth the hype?
So no. BPC, the way it is presented to everybody as this miracle thing, is not true. It's very nice. It can help heal injuries a little bit faster. By itself, it's when you add TB500 or thymosin beta 4, we see, oh my gosh, you stack those together, you can heal from injuries 50% faster.
Wow.
My COO broke his leg, was walking on it in 4 weeks. I'm not kidding you.
This is the Wolverine stack you're talking
Yeah,
about?
dude.
Oh, shit, yeah.
But you're getting in a higher dose. It's called chemical pressure. So the doses that they're telling people, and you're going to have this amazing result, you're not. Okay. So this is the problem. So you need to be very targeted about what you want it for. In general, is BPC good? Yeah, it's a nice thing to have, but I'm not going to have you spend $250 every 2 weeks on it for a iffy outcome.
Unless you're kind of going through like an acute injury kind of thing,
exactly.
Or gut health.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It can be scalpel. It can be great, but just like randomly taking it as a preventative thing, no, absolutely not. It's oversold. Completely not true, right? Now, this is where we can start having fun. The longevity ones that are the best are the secretagogues or some of the incretins. So this is like tesamorelin. Tesamorelin is one of my favorite because it has less, it helps. It's like a growth agonist. So it stimulates just like a growth hormone would without overstimulating IGF-1. So one of the problems with taking a large amounts of growth hormone is that, not that there's been any research that it grows tumors or anything like that, but downstream it will affect IGF-1, insulin growth factor. IGF-1 has been known to maybe increase the risk of tumors.
That's kind of the risk I've heard overall with a lot of peptides, especially BBC 157. And I know a lot of people, a good clinician will ask, do you have any history, personal or family history of cancer? Because you introduce some of these peptides, it can increase every cell, right?
Brother, okay, see, this is why.
This is just what I've heard.
Yeah, no, listen, let me help you.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Information, statistics without the story or statistics without context is lying.
Okay.
And let me explain why.
Okay.
If you have cancer, anything can grow it. Glutathione can grow cancer. They've shown it.
I see where we're going. Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Yeah. Yes. If you have cancer, you probably shouldn't take anything. You need to be getting your cancer treatments. And then what does cancer actually mean? Because your body, if you have a healthy immune system, that's why taking things that balance immune function, even if it could grow cancer, also could help your immune system get rid of cancer. It's highly likely in the data that you get cancer 8 to 10 times in your life. Or you always get micro potential cancerous cells, provided that your immune system works correctly, it will get rid of them. When they turn multi-celled and they get too large, now we got a problem.
Yeah, most people walk around every day with some version of cancer or
Yes.
building up to, but then your point, the immune system kicks in and clears it.
Yes, and that's why you want to be careful over scanning yourself. Because you might see something your body's in the process with, and then you go in to get it, and you actually cause yourself the illness. This is why sometimes when we get too myopic, we hurt ourselves. So that's why I always want to be a little careful. It's like, peptides might cause cancer. Anything might cause cancer. If we're going to be worried about a peptide, are you eating that chicken nugget? Do you know you have cancer? Because that's going to draw. Stress hormone, nothing's going to draw cancer faster than stress hormone and glucose. Okay, so
Okay.
What are we talking about?
So we can back off the gas a little bit on, peptides and the whole cancer thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no evidence, by the way, that almost any peptide at this point, the fundamental ones grow cancer. There's no evidence of that.
All right.
Yeah.
And then what about GLP-1? I actually saw some old content of yours, or you talked about some old content where when they kind of came on the scene a few years ago, you were very anti, or at least anti in general application GLP-1. And I think you've kind of changed your tune. Why, and what is the benefit here of GLP-1 for optimization?
Here's a perfect example of why I feel like I can be useful to people. So when I was a medical consultant, I worked in all the major different clinics. So metformin clinics, different drug clinics that focused on either SSRIs, or they focused on diabetes, or they focused on. So I got to see lots of patients from multiple different clinics, how the clinicians approached the problem of the condition, and then what was the response of the body. And I got to see it and then watch the behaviors. You understand? And having my knowledge. GLPs early on, the early GLP drugs were not great. Okay. A lot of side effects. Okay. So, but the problem is that metformin's not holding people anymore. In fact, in some people, it's making people way worse. So in the clinics where you start loading up metformin, remember your body is a what? Adaptive creature. So if you start to, if you're like, oh, the problem inside the body, and this is going to be my argument for everybody. If I go to calorically restrict or go to low carb or I put metformin in to deal with my pre-diabetes or my diabetes, the argument that you're making is that the whole issue with my health is the supply of carbohydrates.
Okay. Yeah.
That is faulty as AF. It's not true. For example, are the cartels the problem with the drug problem in the United States today? No, we want to get high. Okay. So it's the demand issue. It's not the supply issue.
Yeah.
So what's causing the demand inside the body? Okay. It's the cell. So a cell can get damaged and then doesn't absorb the glucose. So if carbs were the problem, then we could just remove carbs and everyone would get better. It's not. Carbohydrates, while they convert into glucose in your body, so does protein. So we got to stop. The reason we think carbs are the problem is that when we eat carbs, we see a little bit of a higher spike for 1 hour, but not realizing that every food that we eat will spike us a little bit, and then at 2 hours, it should be gone. The average blood glucose you have in your body is not because of carbs. It's inflammation. And it's governed by your immune system. Like the reserve, that the traffic jam in your blood vessels has nothing to do with the carbs. Now, it can go faster if you eat inflammatory carbs. Okay, sure.
Right, yeah.
They're not connected.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why if you try to go get healthy when you're very unhealthy, watch your blood sugars when you go to protein. It'll just make sugar out of that. It'll take your steak and make it a Mars bar. Okay, we watch it all the time. Put a CGM on people that are really stressed out or really inflamed. It doesn't matter.
That's an eye-opening experience.
Right? So like what I want people to get out of this, what I'm telling you is that so with metformin, comes back to this, the same principle of the SSRI. You want to understand SSRIs, look at metformin. You put metformin in the body. What does it do? Shuts down what? Sugar release from what? The liver. So basically like releasing glycogen basically and sugar from the liver. Okay. So great news. Now your sugar's dropped for a little bit. Okay. You get a couple pounds lost. Great. Okay. Now your sugars are not spiking as much. Okay, cool. That's good. Now, if you're making dietary changes, that's big. You're having an identity shift, that's big. All that should hopefully be happening. That's why if you take an antidepressant, you should be getting therapy. If I'm going to take metformin, I should be dealing with a nutritionist or coach. Okay? But here's what happens. So I'm working in these clinics. They start using more and more metformin. We got this figured out. We're just going to give people metformin. It's going to be fucking great. Oh, yeah? Okay. You get 5 years down the road, most of these people can't lose weight anymore.
Yeah.
And their sugars are skyrocketing. Why? Because the body goes, oh, the demand in the body, we didn't fix the cell. We didn't fix the lifestyle either. Okay? So the demand didn't go down. You just cut off supply. The body's going to get what it wants. So what is it going to do? Oh, you raise me metformin? Well, or I'll see you and raise you. And what I'll do is you're shutting me off at the liver. So I'll go to the pancreas and I'll start dumping glucagon. Glucagon is the hormone that will convert protein into sugar, basically. Like it calls for glycolysis to occur, so the glycogen to come out. So glucagon will raise your sugars. So what happened to people is you started seeing this explosive side effect to metformin, and now people are trying to stack 2 or 3 other drugs trying to get the sugars under control. They're worse now. You've seen it. You've seen it. So why was there an escalation? Why did metformin drop you and then explode worse? It's adaptation of the body. The body will adapt to what you're doing to it. This is why if you try to play the neurotransmitter game and you're like, oh, I'll give you a serotonin reuptake inhibitor so that like you keep serotonin active. That's what it does. It blocks it from recycling. So it stays active in what is your body going to do? It's going to stop making it. It's not going to lower what you're bringing in. You act like it's a machine. It's an ecosystem.
No, it's what you're talking about really only when we're doing it long term. You kind of said 5 years. I think we're at the point now where metformin has
12 weeks.
Wow. So after 12 weeks.
12 weeks, adaptation starts to occur. It starts to occur. Okay, so it starts to occur. That doesn't mean it's like massive where you're going to notice it, but it starts to occur.
Should anyone be on metformin for 5 years outside of like pre-diabetic, diabetic?
No, so that's why. Okay, do you know all my research? I'm not going to name names because this is where I have many researchers in the longevity field that are my friends. These wonderful men are. We joke with each other. I can say this about me sometimes. I'm dumb smart. I can get so smart about something, I become dumb to everything around it. So like, metformin creates autophagy. Metformin lowers blood sugars. Metformin good. I take metformin. Okay, so you start taking metformin and you keep taking metformin, and guess what happens? Your sugars start going up. Well, how does that happen? Principle of hormesis. We just went to this. A fat burner burns fat. You take it too long, it gains fat. You're going to get the opposite thing from the stimulus. Caffeine, what stimulates will suppress. I drink 1 coffee, I'm happy. I drink 2 coffees, I'm great. I drink 3 coffees, I'm tired but can't fall asleep. Alcohol, I drink 1 drink, I'm great. I drink 2 drinks, I'm great. I drink 3 drinks, I'm asleep. Okay? So what will stimulate will eventually suppress. Anyone listening to this now will go, yeah, of course. Why is if we understand
we've
this
all felt that. We've all been there,
fucking thing, why is it not so? So because the research doesn't go long enough, you're not oftentimes, and the other part of it is that we're not seeing the side effects and we don't know what to do about it. So you just keep going and then you stack something to deal with the side effect that comes from the adaptation. So what I want people to understand is that metformin, there is a trick to it. And what I'm trying to teach doctors and what we teach at our universities, pulsing.
What's that?
So pulsing is where you use something for a few days and take it out a few days. Or you take it for 21-day cycles. It's diet variation.
Yeah, like you're cycling.
Cycling.
Yeah.
We all understand this in bodybuilding, but the world does not get that, dude. We get that. They don't know that. When I teach doctors about cycling, their minds are melted. And they go, I've thought this forever. This sounds familiar. I've thought this, but I was too worried to do it. I was like, you're diabetic? You want to get better metformin outcomes from them? Rotate it. Right? Rotate it. Right? And so if you want to take metformin for longevity, cycle it. 2 days on, high carb days, 2 days off, no carbs. Do not take metformin on no carbs.
Why?
Because you're not feeding carbs, so it's not getting carbs. And then when your body doesn't get carbs, what it's supposed to do is release some sugar into the body. If you're restricting that and you're not giving it carbs, it's going to create a severe adaptation. It also leads to anxiety. So do you ever notice how every woman who chronically diets has anxiety?
Yeah.
Or dysregulated nervous system. Reactive hypoglycemia, when your sugars get low from restricting too much, your RAS system controls your adrenal glands. So your RAS system is your heart, it's your lungs, it's your kidneys, and your adrenals. When your sugars get to go a little too low, your nervous system tells your RAS system, hey, we're not safe. It's not okay. So then the adrenals have to put out adrenaline. Why do they put out adrenaline? Adrenaline's the only hormone, or protein hormone, catecholamine, neurotransmitter, if you will, that stimulates the liver to release sugar. So when you try to diet too long, you will create anxiety because adrenaline has to constantly hit. So you're constantly in this like dysregulated state, and it leads to a state of living like that. Yeah. Just like I told you, when I got sick with staph or the strep, it led to OCD, and then the OCD became an independent problem. Chronic dieting leads to anxiety, which then becomes an independent problem.
This kind of reminds me of, are you familiar with Chris Palmer, Dr. Chris Palmer?
A little bit.
Brain energy theory.
Yeah.
He has he's been on the show, and he has an incredible book, The Brain Energy Theory, or Brain Energy Method, basically making the claim, and he's a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, that all mental health is actually just a metabolic disorder.
Yes.
All mental health disease is metabolic health.
All disease is metabolic. If you upregulate metabolism, you eliminate disease, which is why at the clinic's what we do.
Yeah.
That's why how you metabolize hormones, how you metabolize toxins, how you metabolize food. And the last one is, how do I metabolize my emotions? And they go together. And what you'll notice is that someone who doesn't metabolize their emotions, they're holding trauma. What's their body start to do? Swell up. If they're not metabolizing their food very well, guess what happens to their emotions? They're not processing them either.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so obvious, but
it takes
it's swinging so far the other way for us to finally go, wait a second, maybe it is both.
And that's the blessing of my life, because I was so sick, because I almost died with my addiction, because the path that I had to go, I was forced into this alternate reality that made me look at things differently. And I started looking for patterns that mimic that, so that I saw things a little differently. And then I found practitioners who found their own little part of the missing puzzle, and another person and another person. And I go, oh, I'm not that smart. I'm just obsessed. The COMT gene, it makes me look really smart. And then I started organizing and putting the pieces together. And then that's how I come up with these conclusions that then when you hear them, you're like, oh, that makes complete sense. And you don't need to be Harvard. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need any of that. You can understand basic human behavior and physiology, and the behavior of the system in these conditions can be understood. And that is always true. So like, that's why I get a little worried when people are like, who are you to say this? You're not the Harvard MD. Well, that Harvard MD 9 out of 10 times has become so myopic as a specialist, he has no clue what's going on except for that one thing. If you're a children's heart surgeon, if you're a rocket scientist, then you better I don't want you to be good at anything else. Just do that. But if you're trying to train the world on how to see things and what to do, I want generalists that are really good at organizing, like Steve Jobs. You know, he didn't build the phones. He organized it all, right? People shit on him for that from the time, but no, that's what you need. You needed the organizer.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope that people like you and me and others can help do, to lead breadcrumbs to get people out of the things that are holding them back that they didn't even know, liberate them from those things.
Well, shit, Vince.
Awesome, right?
I got to say,
That's
man, this has been so stimulating and eye-opening. And also, I got to say, I'm beginning to get a little bit sidetracked, just because I feel so challenged in a positive way of what you are doing and what you're saying, that I feel compelled and obligated to just like to dive deeper and to provide. We got to get you back on here, man. There's so many offshoot things that I'm like, I got to research this. I got to look this up, and like also follow up with what you're doing more of, because I love how we kind of started the conversation, kind of figuring out the basics for people, and a wake up call for a lot of people. Two things, I think some people, it's going to be one of two buckets. You have never heard before in your entire life, and this is going to like really put you on the right path. Or it's going to be a little like, hey, we knew this stuff all along, but you were ignoring your intuition. You were ignoring what your body was whispering to you. And then maybe, unfortunately, now it's screaming. You've got inflammation, you've got hormone disruption, you've got anxiety, you have, a lot of things that we were talking about, but all under, collectively, there is profound help that can be had without really doing a whole lot. And that's where I think a lot of people stay stuck in their health, is they think it's going to take this radical overhaul. It might for some people, but I would say, go on a limb, for most people, it doesn't.
The reality is the smallest things could change a massive impact. And if anybody wants to try to quantify, like, heard all this and then it was just too much information and you're feeling like, I'm not going to do anything with it because it was too much. If you're not where you want to be, we have a simple process. It's the Flush Method. That for $77, you get a course, you can get 2 coaching sessions. We'll build a little program for you that kind of aligns it, makes it very easy, organize it for you. If you don't get a massive outcome, we give you your money back. It's the lowest barrier to entry. Vidal, VIDAL, flush.com. Okay. Or
guys, check the show notes and video description box. It'll all be linked for
listen, I'm not trying to trick you. I want to just give you a chance to see things from a radically different point of view and make you feel in a very short period of time, within 10 days, I can change your entire perspective if you give us a chance. And so if people would just be willing to just go check that out, if you've got someone who's struggling with a health issue, it doesn't matter what it is, the Flush can help. It's this first start of the journey. And then you can decide whether you want to go further, because it'll make more sense to you what I'm saying. Like, you don't need to understand, just execute, right? And then you'll understand. Yeah. And so we're all hands-on. I like that. I don't want people to get too much information and go, I can't do anything with this. I'm just simple as that. Like, check out vitalflush.com. It will regulate nervous system, neurotransmitters, flush your body out, make you feel great, really give you a new perspective. And then it introduces you to our ecosystem, our practitioners and our coaches, and go, do I want to like go down this rabbit hole? Yeah. And start there. And if not, guys, at least go check me out. YouTube, Vince Pitstick. Go to my Instagram, Vince_Pitstick. It's literally pit and stick. You can't mess that up. And at least just tell people about what you've heard here. That's all I can ask for, because I think you can tell this stuff, it can be hard because I'm going against the grain on everybody, but it's very practical. It's very realistic. And then we've been able to reproduce it in over 55,000 people. And then my 4F method is in over 1,500 clinics across the world, reaches over 100,000 people a year.
That's a hell of a population size.
That's what I mean. So it's reproducible. What I'm saying to you isn't my one little clinic with 17 people and I'm trying to tell everyone how to live their lives. It's very reproducible and documented. So.
Damn, man. I got ideas. We're definitely gonna have you back.
All right, man.
I want to get really
technical,
carve out some nuance for sure.
Yeah.
But to wrap it all up, man, the show is meant to bring on people, experts, thought leaders, community leaders, just people that I find value in to propel us forward in life, to keep living a life ever forward.
Yeah.
So I always get my guest interpretation. Those two words. What does it mean to you? If I were to say, Vince, how do you live a life ever forward? What does that mean to you?
It means I'm always approaching my two spiritual needs, growth and contribution. All organisms on a cellular level must continue to grow or they die. And people want love. They want certainty. Sometimes they want variety because certainty's too boring. We'll get one of those things. We'll get significance or we'll get love. And we think that that's enough and it won't be. We have to approach our greater contribution to the world in one way or another, or we have to continue to grow personally, professionally, spiritually. Because you'll feel like something's missing in your life without it, and you'll blame your current life circumstance for it. But it's not that. It's that you're not meeting those final spiritual needs. Spiritual growth is required. And when I say spiritual, I mean, you can put whatever name you want to it. But as you connect to the greater world, what is the connection that you leave and serve? You must complete that task or you have not completed your mission here. And people don't understand that. So when you use those words, I'm saying that people need to find their way of continuing spiritual and physical growth without using the enemy of perfection to hold you back.
Oof, man. Never a right or wrong answer. I always appreciate every interpretation, but I love that one.
Thanks.
I love that one. Well, like I said, guys, you're going to check the video description box and the show notes. Everything Vince is talking about, all of his work, the coaching, the flush method, all this stuff is down there for you waiting. Check it out. Run, don't walk. And stay tuned because we're definitely going to have my man back for sure.
Thanks, bro.
Dude, this was fucking
I
fire.
told you, man. Get done. When I told you before, we on the phone, I'm like, we got to get this done.
Shit.